The run is over! Are you kidding me? There's a year-long wait for that moment. You better get some popcorn because this is going to be a fun night.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Armchair Ninja Podcast. It is Saturday, October 7th, 2017. My name is Rich, and joining me this week are a whole bunch of people, including Bijan. How you make it out?
I'm good, man. In many ways, it's not just the Armchair Ninja Podcast, y'all. It is the Stage 5 Ninja Awards. Let's go!
That's right. We have Taran from the reality TV wrap-ups joining us. Hey, Taran, how you making out?
I'm good. It's fun to be here. I'm happy that you invited me to this. I feel like a real expert. So it's greatly inflated my ego. So I'm loving it.
No, you are definitely one of the experts. Unfortunately, Lita, by the way, couldn't join us, everyone. So if you could give her a hard time on social media, that would be great.
I've been saying for a while on the podcast that she joins me most of the time, even though she's actually never missed a podcast. But now I can definitely say that it's been most of the time and not all of the time.
And we also have the true expert, the one person that knows more about Ninja than almost anyone. That is Travis McClure from ANW Fantasy. Thanks for joining us, Travis.
Hey, man. How's it going? It's a lot of pressure you put on me there.
Yeah, you know, I'm telling you, it's the one person that, I started talking to Ninja at the Philly qualifiers and immediately was like, oh, I have to tap out. This guy knows way too much.
Oh, yeah. Check out Travis's articles on ANW Nation.
Yeah, if you've listened to us
do
before
that.
or you've heard us talk about ANW Fantasy, it's like fantasy football, except I have a chance of picking a winner in this.
Yeah, you guys actually all beat me. My team didn't do so hot this year.
So before we get started, I want to clarify the voting process since it's caused a lot of confusion on Twitter. So the four of us, plus Lita, compiled the categories and the nominees, but we want to include the other ANW content creators in the voting process. So we reached out to other ANW YouTubers, podcasters, social media accounts, and website owners to see if they could like to join us as part of like an academy. So they helped voting. So we didn't decide this all ourselves. Everyone else on here doesn't know the results yet. It's the first time I've had spoilers that I actually want. This is cool.
Yeah, and huge thank you to everybody that participated in this. It was really cool. Yeah, missing you, Lita. Where you at?
So also, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone on Twitter for offering up suggestions and for the unprecedented amount of activity around these awards. People are really excited about it and want their opinion heard. So next year, we'll probably have to incorporate some kind of Ninja Choice or Fans Choice Awards. Let's get into it because that's why everybody's here, right? Everyone wants to know who were the votes for it, because I got to tell you, there wasn't a single category that was unanimous. We were all over the place, especially in a few of these categories.
Oh, man, that's crazy. That's scary.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah,
like,
now I'm concerned.
Well, let's mean, like, how many, like, what category, let's go Bijan. So what category do you think was like a clear runaway? Who do you think there's no way that everyone didn't pick the same thing?
I was going to say the male ninja of the year, to be honest with you, man. But now I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how people voted. And honestly, I can see people voting any particular way. But I thought that one was the most clear slam dunk for me.
I agree completely with that. That's what I would have said for sure.
Yeah, me too.
No question.
Oh, there you go.
Exactly. I mean, it was near. I have to say there was a couple that were near. But yeah, it's, there was a mix in every single category. I loved it. It was great.
That's awesome.
And I'll run through who actually participated in the voting at the end of everything, and we'll offer them up some links and all that stuff. So right off the bat, we've got Best Breakout Rookie Male. The nominees were Charlie Andrews, Tyler Gillette, Kevin Carbone, Josh Salinas, and Jody Avila, who it turns out was not a rookie. A whole other discussion around that.
Yeah.
Well, it was the rookie season for the Big Dog Ninja, so
that's true.
At least we should have just said Big Dog Ninja. I think that would have worked.
Big Dog, yeah. Everybody knows the Big Dog Ninja. That is a nickname that will definitely stick, and everyone will remember.
I think he died inside when he heard that nickname for us.
Oh yeah, yeah. You could see it in his face.
So the buzzer goes to Charlie Andrews.
All right.
Nice.
Congratulations,
Awesome.
Charlie. Taran, what do you think of that pick? Was that kind of what you were expecting or a little bit out of left field?
I wasn't expecting it. I thought maybe I'd be a bit of an outlier. I chose Charlie. He obviously didn't get to compete in Vegas, but he was the only one on the list that finished a city finals course, I believe. And that's really what, elevated him to me. I feel like he had so much potential. It's obviously not his fault that he gets injured and isn't able to compete in Vegas. I think he shows so much promise, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him hopefully compete next year.
Yeah, Charlie Andrews was my pick as well. I see, as you said, Taran, so much promise in this guy. But not just that, I also took into account that he was the College Ninja Warrior champion. And he also completed a finals course. So many different things that he's already garnered in terms of accolades. And I can see him joining the ranks of, his friend, Josh Levin, in just being one of these, all-star up-and-coming rookie, young ninjas. And I don't know. I just see so much potential in this guy. And he had such a breakout year, not to mention a great story. Unfortunately, he was taken out a little early due to unforeseen circumstances, but he still made such an impression this year.
Yeah, and Travis, you mentioned a couple other rookies who technically did better than some of these rookies. Hunter Gerard, I believe, and who's the other? Michael, I believe, was one of our Invisible Ninja.
It was Ilgenfritz, Matt Ilgenfritz. Yeah, those two guys made it all the way to the Wingnuts, but I mean, they got very little airtime. But you're really gonna have to look out for Hunter. He's gonna be on Team Ninja Warrior with Kyle Soderman and Sarah Schoback. That's one of my dark horse teams to be a Team Ninja Warrior threat next year.
Schoback's dangerous, man.
Keep an eye out for definitely that. For sure. Yeah.
I mean, she was on so many teams. She's got the experience.
Yeah. So Charlie was great. It was unfortunately we didn't get to see him run the Vegas finale, but he did actually, as you said, Taran, finish the city finals, which is almost more impressive at this point because city finals is crazy.
Yeah, and as Matt says, this guy has a beautiful mind and a strong body to go with it. So, I mean, if that doesn't say all we need to know, I think there's nothing that will.
What a beautiful quote.
That is a good quote.
Yeah, the worst part about Charlie's injury, too, was it was clearly when they were doing B-roll for the Vegas part. Josh was there. They had a professional camera crew. That was not just, him messing around. That was, for the show. Oof. And that stinks.
I kind of noticed that too, and I'm like, oh, that you're right there, man. It's just really unfortunate.
Yeah, it sucks absolutely, but we'll get to see Charlie again, I'm sure.
Yeah, best of luck. Hopefully, full recovery.
Yeah, I almost chose Tyler Gillette here. He did so well, and I really loved his whole package about how he's been training since he was a kid, and he had footage of himself as a child training, and he obviously does really well as well. So if Charlie hadn't been here, I think Tyler would have been my choice.
Dude, yeah, cosign. That was my second pick, and I really had a hard time choosing between Tyler Gillette and Charlie Andrews because even though Charlie Andrews had such accolades, Tyler Gillette did so well this season, but not just that, had such an impressive storyline. He really was the Cinderella story of the season, in my opinion. So I really think he made a major, major dent in this entire season.
Yeah, I mean, both Tyler and Kevin Carbone, both of them were, super fan turned super competitor. I mean, they both did great. So it was pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, and if there was an award for if there was a person that we could have awarded Ninja Killer, I think Kevin Carbone probably would have won it, right?
Yeah, and I have to say, you're all 100% correct, and we had votes right across the board here. I actually voted myself for Josh because I thought Iron Josh, which I think is a very cool nickname, was a amazing guy that we need to watch for because all the rookies this season were great, or a lot of them were.
Yeah, I mean, Josh was super fast. I mean, he was 3rd in city qualifying, 7th in city finals, and he had the 2nd fastest stage one time. Those are all crazy stats.
Yeah, I think Josh was kind of under-edited this season, but he also obviously did really well. He had one of the fastest times in stage 1 in Vegas.
Yeah, he had a very Daniel Gill vibe, I thought. He's got that same kind of confidence and smoothness on the course.
Well, he also works under Sam Sam.
Yeah, and they both train at Iron Sports, yeah.
Exactly. Something about that place, man. There's something in the water. So moving on, we've got the best breakout rookie female, which was probably our train wreck category for picking nominees. In the end, we had Bree Widener, Rebecca Bonilla, who was not a rookie, it turns out, Lindsay Eskildsen, Sarah Heeson, and Janique Levitt. And the winner is Janique Levitt, of course.
Knew it. Oh, come on. Like, such a stacked roster right there, but Janique Levitt made such an impression. Not just, like, her storyline was so amazing, her background and everything. And it says a lot when they have multiple vignettes on a new person, and yet it reaches different storylines and parts of their past, and they're all so engaging. Not just that, she was able to do so well in a field where the courses that she ran on were really, really difficult, and not many people did well, but yet she was able to go at the top of the pack, and it just says a lot about her athleticism and everything involved with it. Not to mention, her son is freaking awesome.
Yeah, she was so compelling on the course too. I mean, she has so much emotion when she runs, and she's so like passionate and happy when she completes a difficult obstacle. And really, when you're looking at all of these competitors here, and you're thinking like, which one should I choose to win this award? And then like one of them has a son that does backflips like compulsively as they're running. It's a pretty obvious choice in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Bijan was alluding to. I mean, she was in the LA City courses where, I mean, she bumped Natalie Duran from going to Vegas because she did so well. Like,
that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, she was incredibly strong and she went viral. She was like the first viral video of the year. She did amazing. Yeah, Janique was great. Can't wait to see her again next year. Next up, we have the best new obstacle, and this is like a very hotly contested one. We have the wing nuts, both variations, the double dipper, crank it up, nail clipper, and the elevator climb.
Ooh.
And the winner is double dipper and crank it up. We had a tie.
Wow.
All right.
First of all, this like, I could see any of these obstacles winning.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than maybe nail clipper. Sorry, I know it has good stats,
No,
but
I agree.
I hate that obstacle. But man,
The name alone.
The name has to go.
It was, yeah.
what's worse, nail clipper or Ninjago roll, y'all?
Ninjago Roll is sponsored though.
Yeah,
But see, like my problem with the Ninjago roll was if this somehow became a classic obstacle, what like 10 years from now are we going to be going? Yeah, the Ninjago roll. Remember that the Lego movie? Yeah, that's a thing, right? Like it's not on brand.
Yeah, they'd have to change it.
Yeah, they have
like,
to.
I don't even think they'll be able to use it next year.
Exactly.
And what sucks is that the Ninjago roll is actually a really cool obstacle. Just a terrible, terrible name. But dude, like, double dipper and crank it up, I mean, they're both so good in terms of a visual element, but not just that, also physical. Double dipper, there's a lot going on there in a very short period of time. So you have to have really quick reflexes and everything. And it's a lot more in core than I think people realize. So that's a really cool, intriguing obstacle. Crank it up, I like it, man, but wow. I don't know. Wing nuts. I'm a big fan of those wing nuts.
Yeah, so for Double Dipper is in that weird big sliding obstacle in Vegas spot where they had like the curtain slider, the giant log grip last couple of years. It's really hard to find a good obstacle that moves ninjas really far, and I think Double Dipper did a great job of that while still being a hard challenge, and everybody said it looked like so much fun. So I think it was an awesome obstacle.
Yeah, when I see an obstacle and my first thought is like, I absolutely want to try that. I know it's a good one.
Yeah.
I love the double dipper. I agree. I think the fact that it was in that spot is also a huge benefit to it because that's always been like a weird, awkward obstacle spot. I've never been a huge fan of the curtain cling or whatever the thing is, especially when they have to land on like the small little like pad, and we've seen a bunch of people just like accidentally dip their foot in the water, and that's never fun to watch. So I really loved the double dipper. It looked like a lot of fun, and that's why I voted for it.
Yeah, those pads caused so much controversy in the past too. Like, they were overinflated, underinflated. It was just ridiculous. It was great to get rid of that.
Yeah, and it's the weakest way to go out on the show. It's almost cheap, right? You tap the water and you're out. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, Double Dipper's very cool. And there was a lot of people on Twitter that agreed Double Dipper was a very cool obstacle. Crank It Up ended up winning the obstacle design challenge, so I guess it makes sense that they tied a fan favorite and a show favorite.
Yeah, I mean, and Crank It Up is like a crazy physical obstacle. Like, I think somebody counted out it was like 63 moves or something by cranking yourself up and then Lashang and cranking up again and then Lashang again. Thankfully, they did make it easier in city finals and took out a whole cranking mechanism. So, but yeah, that was a crazy obstacle.
Yeah, when you think about the muscle groups that are involved with Crank It Up, I mean, you are just wearing out your rotator cuffs, your shoulders, and everything involved with the elevator climb that's coming up next. And it's just, ooh, I feel bad for everybody. It has to do Crank It Up and then elevator climb just a little bit later. That's rough times.
Yeah, something I liked about the Crank It Up was that it's an obstacle that allows you to see a few different techniques at accomplishing it. So like there are a bunch of people who used as much momentum as they could to get as far as they could on the cranks, and there were some people who just like cranked up, straight crank as many times as I can say crank. So I enjoyed that aspect of it too, and it's one of those obstacles where you can see the struggle on people's faces as they go through it, and that's one of the ones that Janique was able to like really have a compelling run as she's taking it on.
Dude, fantastic point. Like, seeing the struggle on people's faces makes an obstacle, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah, that one was like Maggie looked like she was dying every move. I was like, oh my god, you can do it.
Those are my favorite obstacles. That's why I like the elevator climb so much. And it's why I had voted for it, because to me, it was like a perfect mix of all the ones we've seen in the past. But yeah, at the end of the day, those two obstacles were fun and cool to watch, and I have no complaints. There really was no losers in this category. So the next category we have is Ninja Killer of the Year, a totally similar category, but definitely not the same thing. We have the Nail Clipper, the Wedge, Floating Monkey Bars, Hourglass Drop, and Wingnut Alley. And the winner of Ninja Killer of the Year is Wingnut Alley, of course.
Okay, so who didn't vote for Wingnut Alley? That's because
I actually didn't. I'm going to confess up to that one. I voted for Nail Clipper. It has the lowest completion percentage other than that crazy unstable bridges in season 2. So I had to pick it as Ninja Killer because it had the lowest completion percentage.
Oh man, I had to just cancel Nail Clipper out of my mind for those finals. It's just awful.
I actually don't like the obstacle. Like, I really don't. The name is also terrible. Like, when we were testing it, because I actually got to test in Cleveland, we were all calling it the rotisserie because it looks like a rotisserie chicken.
So much
spindle.
better.
Yes.
But yeah, it's just that it doesn't make sense. Like, it's not visually appealing. It's only hard because it's weird. Like, it's, I don't know. It was just, I didn't love it, but it was, it took out 20 ninjas and only, it was crazy low completion percentage, so I had to vote for it.
Yeah, we have different voting criteria, right? We didn't dictate how everyone voted. So if you looked at the Ninja Killer as a pure stat obstacle, as Travis did, that makes sense, 100%. And I think a lot of us looked at Wingnut Alley and thought, that just took out like the whole field of our favorite competitors. Like, how do you not vote for Wingnut Alley? It was absolutely decimating the field this year.
Yeah, for me, I mean, being in Vegas and watching competitor after competitor go down at Wingnut Alley, and then seeing Flip get so close and so many people get so close, Drew himself go out there, it just felt like this is an impossible obstacle. And it even felt like the people that did get through it were like, I don't even know how that happened. It must have been some weird kind of fluke because this is just impossible. And like that feeling of dread that like this can't be done is why I picked Wingnut Alley.
Yeah. With that said, I mean, every time we see a ridiculous obstacle, it takes out so much of the field. We see a lot of the ninjas come back the next year with a lot more training prepared for that. So I'm really curious to see how people's reactions are next year. If maybe the producers kind of nerf this obstacle, or if they don't, if the competitors are more prepared for it next time. I'm really curious to see how people do next year.
If they nerf Wingnuts, they are crazy. It is the greatest addition to the show ever. It is a new skill that they all are going to learn this season, and I can't wait to see them all dominate it next year.
Yeah, there's so many gyms with wingnuts in them already. I've seen at least like 6 different gyms with wingnuts built in them already. I actually have gotten to play on, replica wingnuts, and it is super cool. So I really hope they don't nerf it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I train at my gym. I don't, there is not wing nuts there, but I definitely train on bars, hopping sideways now and lishing that way. Kind of
Right?
awkward to do, but, getting used to it.
Yeah, and this is a way better obstacle than the double wedge. I hate that one. I didn't like it in stage 2 at all. Even though the Wingnut Alley takes out the majority of the field in stage 2 this year, I still had a lot more fun watching them fail on that than I did watching a bunch of people fail the double wedge.
Yeah, I guess in many ways, even though it took out so much of the field, I particularly didn't find it cheap. Like, hourglass drop or things like that. I felt like the people that failed the obstacle, there was a reason they failed it.
Yeah, there's a big.
I totally agree with that.
There's a big difference between being incredibly difficult and being incredibly unfair. And when you watch Brian Arnold last season failing on the double wedge, I don't see how you could see that as anything other than unfair, because he had all the strength in the world, all the time in the world, and just couldn't unstick the stupid bar. I just think it was an unfair obstacle.
Yeah, and actually to that point, the wedge made this list of ninja killers as well. And because he went out on the double wedge last year, Brian had the quote that he said he was retiring if he gets taken out by the wedge this year. And he totally got stuck again and then just got totally askew and went straight in. And like you said, I don't love that obstacle. It's pretty kind of cheap, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if Brian Arnold does in fact retire and he doesn't come back next year because of the wedge, I think we'll have to go back and change the winner of this one to the wedge, because if it actually kills Brian Arnold, then
That's
I think
true.
that it deserves it.
It'll be a lifetime achievement award.
Yeah, we just need to beat it with a bat if it's like Office Space if that happens.
So next up, we have the category Most Impressive Statter Record and Worst Title for a Category, maybe.
The Travis Award.
Travis Award.
Yeah, Bijan. I like Bijan's This is the Nerd Award.
It's kind of the
thing
Nerd
he
Award.
Sorry,
gave
bro.
Last week. It's all good.
So the nominees are Joe Moravsky. For 4 to 5 seasons, he's reached stage 3. Ian Dory, the 4th straight city finals clear. Brian Arnold for his 6th straight stage 1 clear. Travis Rosen for the oldest man to complete stage 1 at 42. And Drew Dreschel for the fastest time on the city qualifiers, city finals, and stage 1. And the winner is Joe Moravsky.
This was a hard
So this
one.
is kind of like Joe's Lifetime Achievement Award, basically. Because he had, there's so much craziness compiled into this one stat that he's never gotten wet before he reached stage 3, technically, because, other than last year when he fell in stage 2, because the Invisible Ladder in season 8, he didn't technically get wet. It's just crazy. I wrote a whole article about this, so I could go on and on for days about this. But I'll just leave it as there have been 32 times that stage 2 has been cleared in American Ninja Warrior. 4 of those are Joe. So Joe makes up 12.5% of all stage 2 clears. It's just crazy.
Joe just has some numbers that you can't even wrap your head around, because, Drew gets all the love. Drew is amazingly talented, and we can see his skill level, obviously. But when you look at the numbers, Joe has the most ridiculous stats possible. How does he accomplish this every year? How do you fall in stage 2 and be seen as your worst year? That is absolutely crazy. Taran, I know you guys interviewed Joe, didn't you, this year?
Not this year. We did last year. And I mean, for me, what makes Joe so good, and that's part of what he talked about in our interview with him, was that he just he never stops working. We asked, you have a baby. He had a baby with him as we were interviewing him. How do you find time to train? He played us this clip from this motivational speaker that was if you want to get things done, you don't sleep. You can't sleep. And I was like, oh man, Joe, I think you need some sleep. But he's so dedicated. He's so dedicated to the craft, and he knows the technique better than I think anybody else. I think that he just has it down so well. He makes everything I think Drew has a natural athleticism to him, and he's also obviously very technical. But there's something about Joe where it's just like everything he does is calculated, and it's like the most optimal way of completing the obstacle. He just makes it look easy, and he gets through so quickly, and he's so consistent. I mean, there are a lot of impressive stats we have here, but I mean, even looking at things like the history of Sasuke, getting to stage 3 4 out of 5 times is an insane stat, and it has to be Joe.
Yeah, good point. I mean, it's just next level, the things that he's been able to accomplish in the past 5 seasons. And this category was really hard for me. I don't want to disillude all the other nominees because it's so stacked, all these really impressive stats. But when you look at the stat that really stands out more than anything else, getting to stage 3 4 times, as you've alluded to, Taran, is so next level. I mean, how many ninjas can you really name that has done that type of achievement? It's really, really impressive. So just hats off to Joe. His dedication to the sport is just next level.
All right, so moving on to the next category, we have the best comeback story of the year. The nominees include J.J. Woods, Lance Picus, David Campbell, Travis Rosen, and Casey Catanzaro. And the winner is David Campbell.
That's awesome.
I thought you guys might be happy with that. It's not Casey. Casey did get a vote. I'm telling you, these categories were not as unanimous as you might think. Bijan, I knew you'd be happy with this one.
Oh, yeah. I lost my mind last year for many reasons. The fact that David Campbell wasn't even just automatically on the show. He had to win the walk-on line. Not only did he do well, he passed expectations of his previous seasons and his clears. So I'm just so happy for David Campbell. He's gone more and more further away in the season, and he's just definitely proven, not only in American Ninja Warrior, but also Team Ninja Warrior with his success there. Just he's still at the top, the very top of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the other people in this category, I think a lot of them were J.J. Woods had a fluke last year. Lance Picus had a fluke last year. Travis Rosen had a bit of a fluke last year. David Campbell has been kind of struggling for a while now on stage 1 in Vegas. And the fact that he is finally able to overcome that and get back to stage 2, I think that alone is the more impressive comeback. And then, add on to that he really is a legend in American Ninja Warrior. It's so good to see him. Reminds me of the old days when he would go out to Sasuke and when he was, the top competitor at American Ninja Warrior. So happy to see David do well here. And I think this has to be the comeback of the year.
Those were so
yeah,
good.
for sure. It's been 6 years or something like that since he cleared stage 1. It's crazy. And it's also crazy that it comes in a season where he barely made it to Vegas, too. He snuck in, I think he was the 30th qualifier, the 15th
Right.
city finalist. It was right on the bubble every time. And then he gets to stage 1 and boom, back to old David Campbell, breezed through it. I think he had plenty of time left on the clock, too. So, back to the old David, which is awesome.
Yeah, think back to the first few seasons, guys, and remember we had Levi Muhlenberg and David Campbell at the top, and we're all who's gonna complete it? Who's the American that's gonna complete Sasuke and show everybody up that Americans can do it too? And now we're still having David Campbell at the top of the sport, just showing that it can still be done. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, he had back-to-back stage 3 runs. I think seasons 2 and 3. So.
Yeah, and didn't he come just an inch away from beating the cliffhanger that second time?
Yeah, he got to the last
God.
portion and just fell. It was the craziest thing.
That must eat at him every single day still.
Yeah, but now he's got that total victory from Sasuke Vietnam, so that's gotta soothe those wounds a little bit.
Oh, that filled my heart with joy when I saw him just go up that rope.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
That was very cool. So moving on, we have kind of a down point of the episode. We got to cover this one, though. The shameful moment of the year.
Shame!
Yeah, so this is where we try to call out, and we specifically tried to focus on shameful editing. We have no interest in shaming any of the ninjas themselves for their performance or for anything they've done. So here are the categories for almost shameful editing moment of the year. We have Christine Leahy for her stage 2 interview of Drew Dreschel. the Vegas finale preview where they showed Najee Richardson on the cliffhanger, the new women's rule allowing the top 2 women from the city finals move on to Vegas, and the Pec Flex boot camp segment for Eddie Stewart in the Daytona qualifiers, and the Suitor 7,
Booty over boobs.
the 7 qualifier positions given to one family. And the winner is the Vegas final preview showing Najee on the cliffhanger.
Okay. I felt very passionately that should have won, so I'm very happy about that. Because, like, all the other ones, they affected the show a little bit, like, to a particular degree. But when, out of over 40 competitors going from into stage 2, and only 3 make it to stage 3, you're actually going to spoil one of those guys making it? Like, that's not okay. That was the most shameful moment of the season, by far. I also have to take to task, guys. I definitely do not co-sign the women's rule being shameful.
Yeah, I mean, the women's rule, I mean, I think it was certainly a controversial thing when it was announced, but every single female athlete that we've spoken to has said basically, yeah, I wasn't sure about it at first, but I think it actually kind of makes sense. So, I don't see it as shameful at all either. I think that, I like it. I like that it makes it a little less producer's choice and a little more like, give them their own spots. But if the female athletes didn't like it, that would be one thing. But as far as I can tell, a lot of them do seem to at least be fine with it. Of course, I'm sure there are some people that weren't. But as far as I'm aware, it's been taken pretty well. So I wouldn't necessarily call it a shameful moment.
So the women's rule, I like everything about it except for the fact that if a female finishes in the top 15, she takes away a spot from the men, because then like you're sending 2 females no matter what, but only 14 or 13 even like guys. It was just a little weird technicality, and we actually saw it play out where in Cleveland, Jesse LeBrecq finished 15th, and I think it was James McGrath might have been 16th. James didn't go to Vegas because Jesse edged him out. Had they switched, had James finished 15th and Jesse finished 16th, then they both would have gone. So I think it was a little weird in that regard, but I love that, it takes, like you said, it takes out of the producer's discretion. Now the women earn it, so that was the one little caveat in it that didn't make any sense to me.
That's really weird. Like, do we know who took up that spot that was missing? I mean, if only 2 women.
I don't know who technically was 16th. James was like 16th or 17th though, because I was talking to him.
Yeah, it's an interesting rule that's made my life a little interesting this whole season, and I don't want to discuss it any further. But I will say, I added it in. I will take responsibility for that. Everyone didn't vote on this particular one. I added it as a last minute substitution, as I realized that not everyone agrees with it. I actually happen to like it myself, and I will say that it did get at least 1 vote. So I just want to make sure that everyone had a chance to vote on that.
That person gets shamed.
So there we are. So in the end,
yeah. But how do you guys feel about the Najee being shown? I mean, we haven't discussed that really yet. How do you guys feel about actually the show previewing Najee being on?
So my thing with it was, why couldn't they just use last year's clips?
Yeah.
They used like a season 6 or 7 clip of Joe pointing to Mount Midoriyama. Why couldn't you just use last year's clips?
Yep.
I didn't understand it.
Yeah, this was, I mean, as you mentioned, Bijan, like using Najee's clip of him on the cliffhanger, like he was the one that they gave the Palm Wonderful Run of the Night to. Like his stage 2 performance was like their high point of the episode, the finale, according to them at least, and they decided to spoil that moment. Like that didn't make any sense to me. Luckily, obviously, I already knew the results, so like it didn't really matter to me, and I wasn't exactly sure how much this would spoil if you weren't like really reading into everything. because you might like as a casual viewer assume that maybe they are using old footage, but then maybe you wouldn't, because you wouldn't even think that far. So yeah, I mean this whole thing was weird, and they also showed like they showed the moment where Drew like smashes his shoulder into the wing nut. Like there was a lot of key moments here that really got spoiled, and as somebody who knew they were coming, I was like, oh my god, why are they showing all of this? And I mean it seems like even people who didn't know it was coming were able to look at it and be like, wait, why are you showing me? I don't want this.
So that's the thing. So Taran was lucky enough to be there and see it in person, so he didn't have anything spoiled. I avoid all of that. So if there's previews for the next week, I don't even look at the TV. So I avoid anything. I'm very militant when it comes to that thing. So really, it comes down to Travis and Bijan. Bijan, you offered up your thoughts on it. Travis, how bad did this affect your enjoyment of the show?
So I wasn't there, but you know, I've talked to everybody since then, so I actually knew what was going to happen. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that people told me, so I won't say who told me. I'll just say people.
Right.
But so, you know, I knew he was going to be there, but like when I saw it, I was like, why? Just why? Like I was trying to think back. I was like, maybe they could get away and say it was like for Team Akbar, Matt, and Christine from last year, because Naj did get to do stage 3 as part of that, but somebody fell early and Naj just like sat on an obstacle and didn't actually get to do anything. So I was like, dang it, they can't get away and be like, oh no, we have no cover. So it just why? That was all I could say, was just like, why?
They don't have enough epic coverage of Najee, flying over walls or anything else that they could show instead of that. I mean, really, how else are you going to fill that time? You got to show the stage 3. I don't get it. I could rant forever about Palm, as I have multiple times in the past.
Oh, don't get him started, y'all.
So we'll just leave it there. I'm glad that it was a spoiler that ended up winning in the end. It didn't spoil it for me, so that wasn't my vote, but I get it. I totally get it, and I agree 100% with the result on that one.
So before we go on, can I just like talk about this Christine interview, because I cringed so hard when I watched it.
It was painful.
Yeah. Like I understand that is the hardest time to do an interview. Like he just had his dreams come crashing down, and she has to ask him these like poignant questions, but like the fact that she said, I know how disappointed you are and I know how you feel, like 5 times. Like I'm pretty sure a sideline reporter is like always taught, if you're going to compare yourself to them, make sure it's in a way that elevates them and not puts you as an equal to them, because then you're selling the whole mantra of them being these phenomenal athletes. And she even interrupted Drew when he was like saying, no, you don't understand. to say, I was there with you when you fell last year. Yeah, but you weren't there the 365 days he's trained since. And I was like, oh man, it just hurt to see it, because Drew had a nice smile on his face and he was almost in tears by like the 4th or 5th time she's like, I know how you feel.
His eyes say so much. I don't think he actually says it by the end of it, but his eyes are like, really, Christine, like you can keep doing this?
For sure.
Oh, it was bad.
There have been some pretty bad ones over the years. I think Christine is actually one of the smoother interviewers in terms of moments like this. I think that she usually gets it right. But there have been some bad ones in the past. I think particularly with Flip, when Flip was in tears a few years back. I don't remember if it was Christine or if it was the previous woman who had been doing it, but there was a really bad one there. And then there have been I guess it's probably pretty hard to get these things right, so you don't want to rag on Christine too hard. But yeah, this is definitely a moment where it's like, take a hint and think, okay, maybe I need to approach at a different way.
Yeah. Throw that one back to Matt and Akbar. Let him calm down.
Yeah.
Or I mean, they redo these things all the time.
Yeah.
Like just do it over again.
That's what I don't get. So let's say Christine does have a tough job, because she really does. I've heard her talk on another podcast about the fact that she has to go out there and do this, and it's really tough. She has to deliver the bad news. Hey, by the way, you just didn't make the top 15 and all that stuff. So I get that her job is really hard to do. She has all my empathy in the world. The editors in this case could have very easily cut that down, right? They could have made that a lot more. Just the last time that she asked him, like, why do you have to drive that home? It was so cringeworthy as a viewer to see her just badgering him, basically.
right?
Yeah, it's the repetition that gets it. I mean, nothing saying about her or anything like that. The job's hard, but there's
sure.
always a degree when you go too far.
Yeah, and Christine has done really well this year. Like honestly, I can't remember another interview where I was like, "Oh wow, that was a couple brutal questions," but this one just, oh man, it was brutal.
Yeah, she had some really good ones this year, actually, that stood out.
Yeah.
And she was actually talking to Flip in the qualifiers and calling him Flippy and stuff. That was cute. There was all kinds of nice little segments with her.
Oh, Flippy.
Flippy. Poor Flippy. But moving on, let's move on to the next category here. Let's get into the shame. Let's move on to, I don't know if this is much
I
better.
can shame all day, dude.
We got
Sure.
the shocking fall of the year, which isn't a whole lot better, but let's see where we end up. We have Brian Wolczewski, Jake Murray, Jesse Graff, the Towers of Power, and Drew Dreschel. And the buzzer goes to Jesse Graff.
Interesting.
Taran, what do you think of this one?
This is the first time I haven't voted for the winner. It was actually very close between Jesse Graff and Drew for me because I was there for both of them, and it was incredibly shocking both times. Jesse's was so shocking just because we all thought like she has this sewn up, she has this, and then out of nowhere she just goes into the water, and that was incredibly shocking. But for me, I thought I was gonna watch Drew climb stage 4 that night, and when he went down on Wingnut Alley, I was completely shocked, and my entire expectations of like what I was going to be watching for the rest of the night changed. So that's why I picked Drew. But I mean, both were just incredibly shocking, both to watch on TV and to watch in person.
Yeah, so like I took this as like the total fan viewer. I've seen 8 seasons of this show. We've only had 2 winners. So for Drew to go out on stage 2, you know, that happens sometimes. And his reason for going out on stage 2 was because he was too good. He overshot the wingnut in Charlie Horse's arm. Like, it's ridiculous. It's fluky. But like a guy like Jake Murray only got to do 3 obstacles this year. That's it. And that's just, you know, totally shocking. Brian Wolczewski didn't even get to touch a stage 1 obstacle outside of the first step of Snake Run, and that's the second time he's fallen on the first obstacle of stage 1. Like, those 2 are just mind blowing. And like Jessie is another one. It was shocking because she has set her own bar so high. That's the crazy thing is like these people like Jessie and Drew, we expect so much from them, and no matter what, you know, Drew could have fallen on stage 3, we still would have been shocked. Or, you know, Jesse falls on the dismount of Wingnut Alley, we would have been shocked again. That's just how crazy good those 2 have become.
Yeah, when looking at this, Jake Murray really hit me hard just because of the fact that I know how much he trains and how much commitment he has. I mean, a lot of them all, of course, do. But Jake, as you alluded to, Travis, only did 3 obstacles a season, and his season was over. So it shocked me more the fact that we weren't going to see more of him, and also the heartbreak involved, the fact that he was almost speechless and almost in tears. That had a lot of heartbreak with me, and also the shock involved with it. So that connected with me a lot. Drew, man, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it was shocking, but I can definitely see why Jesse Graff won this because,
for sure.
I mean, I don't know. She got that next transition. I was like, oh, she's got it. She's gonna hit the she's gonna hit the buzzer. Next thing I know, she's in the water. I'm like, how'd that even happen? So it's crazy. I can definitely see why Jesse Graff won. I mean, talk about a moment that we're probably never gonna forget in terms of shock value.
Yeah, I mean the flukiness of Jesse's. Like I was literally typing in her name is completed for my website,
Same.
and I was like, oh, I guess not. Like I don't even know what happened. I had to rewind it.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting there like preparing for Lita to be in tears, but unfortunately, it was for a different reason that she was in tears because like I was just prepared for. I was taking it as a given that she had completed the obstacle, and I think that's really where it comes down to. Like, barely anyone fails at that point. They reach the flying squirrels, especially once they reach the cargo net. Like that jump to the cargo net, very rarely you see someone fail there if they have a lot of time left. And then to see her just completely shockingly go down, I think is really probably what made this the most shocking moment.
Hey, Taran, how was the response from the audience when it happened?
I mean, I think we were all just in complete shock. I think, I mean, to be fair to the fact that it won, I think this was the most shocking moment to watch live in person. I think that the entire audience was just stunned. Like everyone was cheering because we thought that she had gotten it. And then just out of nowhere, she goes into the water. And I mean, we were all just, we didn't know how to respond.
Yeah, Jessie's amazing. And it's not too surprising that she has shocking fall of the year, because I think that's the only... No, I think I gasped at the Towers of Power, too, where I was just absolutely floored that both of them had fallen there. They do a pretty good job. We criticize the editing sometimes, but, I mean, really, they can set us up. We think they're painting this picture of someone going really far sometimes, and they'll pull the rug out from under us, and they did a really good job with Jessie this year. But let's move on to the Invisible Ninja Award, because this is probably my favorite category we had, and I really want to get to it here. So... The Invisible Ninja is for the competitor that we feel did not get enough coverage this season. And there are some very notable ninjas that would be on this award every single year. So the nominees are Nicholas Coolidge, Flip Rodriguez, Andrew Lowe's, Matthew Ilgenfritz, and Ryan Stratus. And the winner of the Invisible Ninja Award is Flip Rodriguez. Bijan, what do you think of that one?
I mean, I voted for him for a reason. It was hard because it's like I wanted to vote for Andrew Lowe's, but I'm like, who's Andrew Lowe's? I don't even know, because according to American Ninja Warrior, he doesn't exist. And yeah, dude, it's tough. Every one of these guys did so well, and yet they just got no love. But the thing that shocked me more than anything else, we're talking about Flip Rodriguez, one of the most popular ninjas in the entire sport. When you think back to his year last year and his storyline and just how much he just came out and revealed so much of his past and a dark period of his life, and the fact that he just gets no love this season. They just showed one run of his, and then the rest he's just fast forwarded. That's insane. When you look at this guy's following and how much children connect with this particular guy, like, it still amazes me the fact that he did not get more love.
Travis, were you surprised by this one? Did you think this was the choice that was going to be made?
I'm not totally surprised by it. I mean, so this was a really tough award to like pick, especially because like even when I was picking pictures for these guys, I actually was able to find a picture for all of these guys to put on the website, which I was slightly surprised by. But when I was scrolling through there, I actually noticed a couple more that we didn't even nominate. Jeremy Morgan, he's been to stage 3. He made it to stage 2 again this year. I think he had 2 fast forwards and 2 like completely no shows. And then like the 2 walk-ons, Dave Kavanaugh, Michael Salinzi, they both made it to stage 2 this year, and I think they were the same thing. 2 fast forwards and 2 complete no shows. So that was just crazy. But my vote was actually for Matthew Ilgenfritz, who I think when Rich was even making this, he's like, I didn't even have notes on the guy.
Yeah, I had nothing
so,
on this guy. So
yeah, I mean,
literally
and that's
Invisible
crazy
Ninja.
because he made it to the Wingnut Alley. He made it as far as Drew Dreschel, and we didn't see anything. I think he had 1 fast forward all season and 3 no-shows. That's just crazy.
One honorable mention I want to add in there, too, that I thought of afterwards, unfortunately, once we had finalized everything, was Thomas Stillings. We didn't get enough of this season either.
Oh, yeah, and his new haircut, everything.
Yeah, I totally missed out on Thomas this year. So, yeah, they can't show everybody, but as I've alluded to on the podcast, they really this year seem to focus on a few. They tried to drive a story arc for a few specific ninjas rather than kind of spread it out as they normally do, and I'm not a fan of that. I hope they spread it around a little more next year. We get to see more from Kevin Bull, from the Flip Rodriguez. This is the ones that are namesakes of the show that we tune in to see, not just Lance. As much as I like watching Lance run, I don't want to see every single one of Lance's runs to only see one of Flip's.
Yeah, the Flip thing completely surprised me. Again, I mean, I don't want to bring back the fact that I was there, but I watched Flip do, stage 2, and he he failed in the same spot as Drew Jeschel, and he was the first person to fail there, and it was like I think he had attempted it before. Like he came the closest to completing that obstacle than we had seen of anyone, and it was incredibly dramatic. And this is like you don't often get the like that good stuff where it's like a very popular athlete and is also like doing a very compelling and dramatic run. And so I thought this was going to be one of like the highlights of the finale is watching Flip come so close. Like this is the closest he has come to making stage 3 in at least a very long while. I don't know if he has. I don't think he has made it to stage 3 before. And this is like the closest he has ever. He was right there, and then we didn't see any of it, and that just completely shocked me. So like, well, I don't think Flip is your typical, invisible athlete where he doesn't usually get digested like a lot of these other people do, Nicholas Coolidge and stuff like that. But it was the most shocking for me in terms of just like I really expected this to be a storyline on the season, and he was completely invisible.
Yeah, Hira's run was really good too, so it's very unfortunate. Just a special shout out to Nicholas Coolidge and especially Andrew Lowe's. There's like a lifetime Invisible Ninja Achievement Award.
Yeah.
It's got to go to Mr. Lowe's.
Yeah, I think what's the last time we saw a profile of Lowe's? Like season 5, probably. It's been a long time.
I think so.
Like when he missed the buzzer stage 1 by like a second. I think that was the last time anything.
Brutal, man.
I think it's really appropriate that both of them get missed in this category, to be honest. I think it
Oh, the irony.
Yeah, I thought this was the one thing they had in the bag, but apparently not. So yeah, this was a big surprise to me. I really didn't expect the votes to go this way. I almost argued against Flip being in the category, but then I'm glad I didn't, because a lot of people voted for him. So we've made it to the big categories at the end here. We have the Female Ninja of the Year award. In this category, we have Alyssa Beard, Jessie Graff, Jessie Lebrecq, Barclay Stockett, and Maggie Thorne. And the winner is Alyssa Beard, of course.
Yeah.
Had to be.
I would have said this was my next one to be a unanimous pick.
Yeah.
But
Nearly.
Who didn't pick Alyssa?
I'm not going to shame anyone for the votes. The voting is completely anonymous. But yeah, not everyone voted, but almost everybody voted for Alyssa, because she had a phenomenal
Was it Lita?
year.
It wasn't Lita. Lita would have voted for Alyssa.
I feel like shaming Lita. I feel like I'm not even going to look. I don't even know if it was her. Probably wasn't her, but I feel like I want to say it was Lita just because she didn't show up.
It is usually my first instinct to blame Lita, but I'm pretty sure she probably voted Alyssa.
I think that's a safe
Wait,
assumption.
didn't you guys just interview her?
Yeah, exactly. Can't betray the sacred trust of interviewee and interviewer.
There you go.
With that said, I mean, I have to say, every one of these nominees have been so proven this particular year. I mean, I'm really proud of all of them. Just Alyssa Beard was such a standout when it comes to this particular season. I mean, it's really hard to go against Alyssa Beard when it comes to this. She's been so good. Her storylines have been great. Obviously, she's awesome. I mean, she's a teacher, y'all. Like, how cool does that get? When you think about the whole essence of American Ninja Warrior or Sasuke or anything, it's about everyday people doing extraordinary things. And we've got a 5th grade teacher just killing it on this course. That is so amazing. Special shout out as a teacher myself to Alyssa Beard for that. And I'm really proud of her and all of her accomplishments. Not just that, I mean, she's still new to the sport, right, Travis? Like, how many years has she been doing this?
So, I mean, she's been training for 3 years, but this is only her 2nd year on the show.
Man.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
think we need to remind people that she's a teacher, because Akbar does a very good job of it.
Yes,
every
he
time
does.
she runs.
Miss Beard, he literally threw an apple at her. I think that would probably...
No, dude, no more apples. That is cringeworthy. Please.
Yeah, that was bad.
I like the apple. I don't care what you say. I like the apple.
Matt, she deserves an apple. Give this woman an apple.
I was there, and I don't remember that, though, so... So I have no idea how they managed to do
Oh,
that.
that's funny.
Oh, he was prepared, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Alyssa's great. I think that she not only was she the only female to finish stage 1 this year, she got the Palm Wonderful Crazy Healthy Run of the Night, which apparently comes with like a swag bag of some sorts.
Right, with the non-shameful towel, by the way, the black towel, I believe it was, instead of the red one.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, it's I think that it really speaks for itself. She even got to do like a music video this season. She is the star of the show this season, and I think it can't go to anyone but Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and we're in the final 2 categories here. These are all top-notch, competitors who had amazing seasons. So, I mean, like Jessie, was second woman to ever reach the 10th obstacle in the city finals. Third straight time legitimately qualifying for Vegas without the new rule. She had an amazing, run until that cargo net on stage 1.
Mm-hmm.
But Alyssa just finished off stage 1. And, that's awesome. Especially coming from, a second-year competitor. She was the 6th woman to get up a warped wall. She got back up at city finals, fell in the nail clipper like everybody else. But, her stage 1 run, that's going to go down, as in history as one of the best runs by a female for quite a while.
Yeah, and her dedication is just amazing. Like, she drives an hour to work and to the gym like every day. I mean, it's just amazing. And we can't even forget that she was part of the winning team on Team Ninja as well. So very successful year for Alyssa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been to those gyms. The gyms she goes to are not close together. Like, she'll spend some time at one gym, sometime at another gym. Those gyms are at least 2.5 hours apart. So it is crazy how much she drives to go to those places.
Yeah, and for those that haven't listened to it already, make sure you go over to the reality TV wrap-ups to listen to Taran and Lita talk to Alyssa and James McGrath as well. Great interviews. I loved them. They're absolutely really interesting. And I love Alyssa's mentality when she takes a course. It's so casual. It's so just relaxed and just like, I wonder, make sure I don't make a face as I'm going through this obstacle. Not focusing on the obstacle, just like making sure that everything, she's so relaxed and calm. I think it's a great approach, and I think it'll take her far.
Yeah, it's great. We spoke to her twice actually, because we were gonna have James on to talk about Team Ninja, and then because we had met him in Vegas, and then lo and behold, Alyssa was there. I was like, oh, look at that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, you can find that. It's if you search on iTunes, it's American Ninja Warrior RHAPUp. That's RHAPUp. It's a weird name, I know.
It's a little tricky sometimes.
It's a whole thing.
Hey, before we go, though, we have to talk about the other nominees. Just a quick shout-out. Barclay Stockett taking over the mantle, kind of like with the Kisi Canizaro thing, of being the short one that can, and she's just... her propeller power jumps was just so iconic. It was so awesome.
Oh, wow.
Maggie Thorne having such a brutal storyline going into the season, and yet she really came into her own, not just in terms of storyline to the audience, but also as an athlete. She really did well this year. So huge shout out to her. And Jessie LeBrecq, man. I mean, her performances this year, she really cemented herself at the very top of the sport, just with all the other female ninjas. And I'm really expecting a lot from Jessie LeBrecq next season.
Yeah, I mean, Jessie, this was her second straight time legitimately qualifying in the top 15 for Vegas. Only Jessie Graff has done that. Megan Martin hasn't even done that twice, which I thought was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she had another great season. And then Barclay is actually the shortest woman or shortest person, not even just woman, to make it up the warped wall in Las Vegas right now. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think we have to pay attention to every single one of the women on this list. I think that all of them
For sure.
are absolutely capable of completing at least stage 1 next year. So hopefully we don't see more flukes, and we'll get some more women up to stage 2.
That's right. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Travis, because I think Megan fully deserves to be on this list as well. Megan had a phenomenal year.
For sure.
And was able to complete the warped wall this year, which was a great accomplishment for her. So we'll call her an honorable mention in the category, because it was a really good year for the women. They did a tremendous job.
And the other honorable mention that you mentioned last week, when you guys were going over the categories, Michelle Warnke got up the salmon ladder.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
She had to compete against Jesse and Alyssa.
Yeah.
Like,
That was brutal. that was awful.
All right, so let's move on to the male ninja of the year because we got some strong competitors in here as well. We have Joe Moravsky, Najee Richardson, Sean Bryan, Drew Dreschel, and Lance Pekas. And the winner is Joe Moravsky, of course. Who else would it be?
Shocker.
yeah.
Not as unanimous as you think. Actually, even further apart than some of the other categories. Like there actually were a few
Interesting.
scattered votes in that one.
Yeah, I want to hear who else got votes in this category. I can definitely see other people getting this, but for me, it was a slam dunk Joe Moravsky. When you look at his year, he not only won Team Ninja Warrior, his team, he was a captain of that, but also he was the furthest competitor in American Ninja Warrior. Not just that, I mean, he's been so technical this entire year. Every time you see him run, it's absolutely flawless. It's freaking brilliant watching him. His approach to the course, everything involved. I mean, this was Joe Moravsky's year. And I'm just really happy of all the success that he got because in many ways he was getting a little bit overshadowed by Drew. Everybody's like, oh, Drew's going to be the one. Drew's going to be the one. And Joe is, if you look back at the past few seasons, Joe's right there up there with Drew Dreschel. So I'm really happy to see him get a lot of success because, man, I don't know anybody that takes the sport more seriously than Joe. Maybe Drew, but who knows? I mean, they're right up there.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is those two train together. So, like, it's, you know, they're always going against each other, pushing each other, and I think, you know, that's why they're able to elevate themselves just to, you know, crazy good levels. I obviously voted for Joe. I did just write an article about him. If you go to ANW Nation, you can read it. But one thing in there, like the genre's alluding to, is the fact that since he started, Joe has completed more obstacles than anybody in that time span, and it's not even close. It's like 20... I don't even remember. It's 21 or 22 more obstacles than the next closest
Wow.
person. And that's just crazy. That's more than, you know, that's more than a city qualifier and city finals and like half of stage one, more than people in the same time span. It's ridiculous. I could see people voting for Drew this year just out of, you know, the fact that he got so much hype this year. And the only reason we didn't see Drew at the top of the mountain this year is because he's too strong and hurt himself. Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
he's just too good that he eliminated himself. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, he's completed all of those obstacles, and he's also created 2 children in the process as well.
Right.
So very, very productive, Joe.
He's been living.
But yeah, I mean, you know, obviously, I think Drew is easily one of the top competitors. I really expected Drew to win the whole thing, to get up stage 4 that night in Vegas, but he didn't, and Joe made it made it further, and really that's what it came down to for me. But I mean, they're both so good, and they're both so technically proficient and athletically gifted, and so dedicated to their craft. It's just amazing to watch both of them. I talked about it on our podcast, but watching them in Vegas, Drew was like on the sidelines while Joe was running, and they were consulting each other on stage 3, like cheering Joe on, and that was like so cool to watch. And I was upset they didn't put it into the episode, because that's one of my favorite parts of Sasuke, is watching the other athletes, like the camaraderie. But it was so good to see that, and these two, who I feel like are the top 2 in the entire field by far. The fact that they work together, they give each other advice, they train together, like, you know, these 2 are just the top 2 in general. And this was just Joe's year, and that's why I think it has to go to Joe.
Yeah, and I think everybody here actually agree with you on that one. So looking at, I mean, Joe and Drew are just amazing. There's not much more that needs to be said about that. But looking at the other competitors as well, who had phenomenal seasons. Najee, of course, amazing athlete, amazingly entertaining to watch too. He knows how to play to the camera. He's actually one of my favorite ninjas to watch on the course. Sean Bryan, who came out of nowhere. That's why I think next year we won't have a breakout rookie I think we'll take out the rookie designation because we can't tell half the time who's a rookie anyway.
Right.
Breakout performance of the year.
Now we have Nikki's list though. Nikki has like the full list for every city.
That is true. But I think we'll just look at the breakout performance because I think that's more telling.
For sure.
And then we can look at like somebody like Sean Bryan, who really should have been in the breakout performances of this year. And Lance Picas, his story was phenomenal this year as well. And he did so well. Last year he had the disappointing fall. But beyond just making it further, I thought he looked so strong on the course. Like I felt like he could have went really far this season, if not for the wingnuts, of course.
Yeah, Lance looked super strong. And even more than that, he was, always in control. And I agree. I totally thought Lance has a chance to go as far as anybody. And I've normally just kind of thought Lance is a good competitor, but this year he looked like, an elite, a great competitor. And then Sean, so I know they over-Catholicize him. Taran and Lita had some hilarious riffs about that last week. He cleared city qualifying, city finals, and made it to stage 3. Like, that's a great season by anybody's standard. And jumping ahead to Team Ninja Warrior again, my odds-on favorite right now is Sean Bryan, Adam Rail, and Rebecca Vanilla.
Ooh.
They're winning next year.
Putting down
That
the
is my
fort.
pick.
Wow.
You're actually going to try to take on the Team Ninja Warrior champ over here?
That is my pick right now.
It's a pretty stacked team.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, man. Just first of all, Lance Picas, I wouldn't discredit anybody for actually voting for Lance Picas with this, because you can definitely take a different route and approach to this. And if you look at this show as a television show, it's a sport and everything first and foremost, but if you look at in terms of like a star, in terms of like the overall presentation, Lance Picas' story was so dynamic. It really hit hard to a lot of people. I remember Rich and I talking about it and almost tearing up about this storyline. Because we have this connection with these ninjas. Yeah, we don't know them personally, but we've been seeing this guy and his wife throughout the years, and I feel like at least know some portion of his life and can almost have that empathy with them, And to see him go on this journey, stay committed to his wife and her health and knowing everything involved with, her disease, and then seeing him do so well in the sport, just tap in a different sense of himself and go far and beyond expectations of himself. I can really see a reasoning of people choosing him. So that definitely stood out to me. Najee and Sean Bryan were definitely standouts in terms of like the rookie ninja. For me, they were kind of like the Daniel Gill of this year, They're the young guns that just did exceedingly well, especially Sean Bryan. Wow, I didn't see that come out of nowhere, especially Team Ninja Warrior, man. he definitely was underrated on that show. He just was a star on that. But yeah, just props to everybody involved.
Yeah, Lance's package was just heartbreaking to watch. It really cast him in a different light for me, and it's devastating to see what he and his family have gone through, and he really did have a great season this year. I think both with the course and the edit that he got. I think it took a lot. It takes a lot to like come out and talk about stuff like that on such a huge scale. It's a very personal thing to be like, my wife has this illness, and it's something that we deal with, and for her to come on and for her to break down in front of the cameras, it's really commendable that they shared their story, and I think it was a really great story. So, totally much higher on Lance than I ever have been. Very, very happy to see him do well this season. Sean Bryan was a complete shock for me on stage 2. He was one of the, I called that Najee would complete it. I called that Joe would complete it. I had no idea that Sean was going to complete stage 2 in Vegas. And he completely took me by surprise. And I was super happy to see it, even though I do want his arm sleeves back. He had those last year. I thought they were really cool. He doesn't have them anymore. Sean, if you're listening, bring back the arm sleeves, please.
Those biceps, though, man.
Yeah, but they look even cooler when they're in the arm sleeves. That's what I'm saying.
Very true.
Akbar, he should no longer call him the PayPal Ninja. We don't need that anymore.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. The PayPal Ninja is one of the best ones of the season.
And then Najee, I think Najee's amazing. I love that you said that you love watching him on the course, because I think I'd written that in my notes at one point during this season. Like, he's just so likable when he's on the court. Like, he's so full of energy and like good positive vibes and feelings. It's just like you really like, he's very charismatic both in his interviews and on the course. I love watching Najee. I think that he's somebody that has improved dramatically from his previous, time on the show, and I think that he's only going to continue to improve. I think that Najee is somebody who is going to be one of the top ninjas around next season, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Stage 2 ain't the boss of Najee Richardson, so Najee is number 3 for me. I really love Najee. I can't wait to see him next year.
Yeah, he's got a natural charisma, which is very rare. I mean, we see Tom Stillings and a few others like that have just a natural exuding charisma, and it's a very rare thing to have, but very important for shows like these. And he's a star in the making. Well, no, not even in the making, y'all. He's just a star.
Najee's the only person that can make the wall flip entertaining. That's all I know. That in itself deserves an award, because the wall flip is the most boring obstacle that's ever been put on this course.
Why does it have to be there? I just don't understand.
Kick that door down. Kick it down. You ain't the boss of me.
Kick it.
Joe is getting into it too. I think he saw Naj and was like, I can do that. Yeah.
Well, once they complete the wing nuts, it's like, man, I just did that. You're feeling so pumped up. You want to kick all the doors down. It's really just a victory lap.
It kind of is, isn't
sure.
it? Yeah, that's all it really is.
Especially with a 4-minute time limit on stage 2. That was a joke.
Yeah, that was something like we literally had to wait. They rested before the Wingnut Alley like every time for about a minute. Like there was a minute of rest in stage 2 that they just cut out of every run.
Dude, those minutes might as well be 30 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't get into this earlier. I love Wingnut Alley as an obstacle. I don't love it on stage 2 because it takes so long. Mm-hmm. They were hanging for a minute. They rested for a minute. Like, that is an awesome stage 3 obstacle because it's endurance and power, both in the same package. But, like, on stage 2, it used to be about, strength and speed. Mm-hmm. Now I don't even know what it's about now. Now it's about, let's just throw in as many more obstacles that are cool we can. But I don't know. The stage 2 4-minute time limit, I couldn't stand. But
it was pretty egregious. I mean, it's not about speed anymore when you look at it.
Yeah. I would call it like, I don't know if this is what their intention is, but it's like stage 1 is parkour, stage 2 is gymnastics, and stage 3 is rock climbing, maybe?
That's an interesting way to look at it. I've never actually taken that approach.
Yeah, I think all of them are rock climbing, like
right,
to
yeah,
some extent.
They're all fading to that.
Just like they progressively get like the percentage of rock climbing gets like greater and greater as the stages go on.
Until it's literally a rope.
Yep. There used to literally be a rock wall on stage 3, so.
So that's it for this episode. Thank you, Will from 222 Productions, which is a great YouTube channel with Will from the former Final Stage podcast, who does weekly reviews of ANW, and he's likely to be joining us on the podcast in the near future. ANW Akbarism, which is a cool Twitter account that transcribes all the funny things that Akbar and sometimes Matt Heisman says week to week. Backyard Ninja Kids, a family YouTube channel that creates ninja courses and helps inspire kids to get active. Plus, they interview ninjas as well. And Universal Tuber, who's another YouTuber whose account is based around both ANW and the original Ninja Warrior Sasuke. Lots of top 10 lists and worst of lists. Kind of like these awards, actually, when you get down to it. But most especially, I want to thank Taran and Travis for joining us this week. It's been a lot of fun. I knew that this actual recording would be the most fun thing to do, and I wasn't disappointed. So, Taran, where can people find you online? Do you want to take a second to plug the Taran show while you're at it?
Well, sure. You can obviously, you can find the podcast American Ninja Warrior RHAPUp on iTunes. You can also find it on Rob has a website. You can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taran. And I host another show called The Taran Show, where I interview, people in the reality TV world and realm and podcasting world as well. I've talked to my podcasting benefactor, actor Rob Sesternino, as well as some of my colleagues that I podcast with, are at Rob Has a Podcast. And I've talked to a bunch of people from Big Brother. I podcast extensively about that show, as well as some people from Survivor. And recently, I actually talked to Matt Eisman. And basically, the idea of the podcast is that we do like long form interviews to get to know the person. So I had a really cool conversation with Matt where I kind of got to know him on a more personal level, what drives him, why he changed from being a doctor to a comedian, and what he does, and how he got the job as the host of American Ninja Warrior and all that stuff. Really, really fun conversation with him. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. If you like Big Brother, then you should definitely check out the Big Brother stuff we do. Yeah, you can also maybe check out Lita's stuff if you want. She's
no Lita stuff.
At Lita Tweeted and Lita Grammed on Instagram and all that. But, she did bail on us on this podcast.
Yeah.
So
I'm
there's
cutting
no
all this. No,
obligation.
don't even bother. No Lita stuff. We're cutting this all. Don't even go there.
Well, I do want to thank Lita for always making me look smart on the podcast, because I know more things than her, and that makes me seem smarter. I want to thank her for not showing up to this podcast to make me look like I'm more responsible than her. And I want to thank Lita for probably casting all of the votes that were the hinky votes that did not become the winners of the category. So if you want to hear more about me and Lita and how I'm better at podcasting than her, then you can listen to our podcast.
Hashtag blame Lita.
Yes.
She's also podcasting. I will give her a quick shout out for it's Dancing with the Stars, right? She's starting that now. She's wrapping up her So You Think You Can Dance one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And she also does some writing, but I'm a terrible friend and I don't know where.
All right, so
check out her Twitter though. Lita tweeted.
It's all part of reality TV wrap-ups, right?
The writing isn't, I think. The writing she does somewhere, but I mean, she wants to get into writing, so she's writing more. But I'm sure you can find it all on her Twitter.
Cool. So that's at Lita Tweeted, right? I know I kind of cut you off there.
Yes, at Lita Tweeted.
All right. So Travis, other than ANW Nation, which you absolutely dominate and make all these amazing articles for, where else can we find your stuff?
Most of my stuff is on my own website, ANW Fantasy. So actually, there's a nice overview of the Stage 5 awards on there. Nice pictures of everybody. So I just did that. But all sorts of stats and stuff like that. And next year we'll do another $250 prize fantasy pool. So make sure you sign up for that. I don't have it open yet. Once submissions are done, I'll probably open that back up. So sometime January-ish we'll get rolling on season 10's fantasy pool. Get your picks in early before filming starts, and you'll have a chance to win some money, like Bijan did a couple years ago, or last year, I guess.
Champ is coming back, y'all.
Bijan needs to come back. But we have to stop that from happening because his ego gets way too big when that happens. So
No. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was lots of fun doing that, and it will be fun again doing it next year. So definitely check that out. ANW Fantasy. Thank you, Travis and Taran both. So that's it for us. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach me as @Ninja Podcast on both Instagram and Twitter. I am Rich at ninjapodcast.com. And Bijan, how can they reach you?
Hit me up at Bijan151 at Twitter and Instagram. That is BIJAN 151. Special shout out to Rob as a Podcast, Taran, Lita, Travis. You guys do amazing, amazing, cool stuff for not only American Ninja Warrior, but everything you guys are involved in. I'm a huge fan. Much respect for you guys coming on the podcast. I'm so thankful, and it's been an awesome blast listening to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us on. This is awesome.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and I hope you have a fantastic week.
Deuces, y'all.